All right, so you made your practice chassis. Turned out pretty good. I realized we're missing bumpers. The video was pretty long, though. It's probably a good stopping point. So let's add some bumpers. So here's my assembly. I'm going to go back to the part studio. I guess the first question is, how far off the ground do we want our bumpers to be? So this would depend on the game. Are we trying to clear anything? You know, often we have our bumpers maybe at least a half an inch, probably closer to an inch or 3/4 of an inch. When we do our really low chassis and it drops down to about 3/4 of an inch off the ground, that's a pretty good height for bumpers. So let's go with 3/4 of an inch. So the first thing is to create a plane. Let me bring back my top plane so I can see it right here. This is my ground level plane. You can see it's even with my chassis. So I'm going to make it 3/4 of an inch above that. Let's start a plane. We're going to go with an offset plane off of this, 3/4 of an inch up. So the offset is 0.75. Okay. Let's create a sketch on that plane. And let's view the sketch from the normal view. All right. Actually, for this, I'm going to hide a lot of my parts. So hide all parts. Let's just bring back that original horizontal top view sketch. So you can see this is the shape of my chassis. So I need my bumpers to be at least that big, but actually they need to be a little bit bigger. I'm going to do a center point rectangle centered in the center of that whole chassis. Oh, I can't grab that center point. It's not in my plane. So let's use it. There it is. Now let's do it again. Here we are. How much space do we want to give our bumpers? Well, it depends if we have anything outside our frame perimeter. Sometimes we have like an 1/8 inch gusset on the outside or something, in which case we would need more than an 1/8 of an inch. Let's say it's perfectly smooth on the outside. Let's give ourselves an 1/8 of an inch on both sides, which would be a total of 1/4 of an inch extra. You'd be surprised how tight that can be. Oh, it doesn't need that because it's centered. Undo. Over constrained. Now let's do an 1/8 inch from the top as well. So these bumpers are going to be 1/4 of an inch bigger than they need to be. It gives us an 1/8 of an inch clearance on both sides. All right, that looks good. Now let's go ahead and offset the bumpers. So we're going to offset that line here, the other direction. Let's make it go up there. And how far up off the bumper line, off of this black line here? How far do we want to offset them? Well, we need to check the rules every year to make sure we follow the rules. But the traditional bumpers were 3/4 of an inch back plate, so 3/4 of an inch plywood, plus a 2.5 inch pool noodle. So the total distance on them was 3.25, just like that. Let's click there, that looks good. And click the green check mark. Let's go ahead and bring all my parts back. Here we go. So let's select that bumper area and let's extrude it. It's going to go up. How tall? Well, it depends on the design. Traditional bumpers are 5 inches tall. Two 2.5 inch pool noodles tall. So you can see that's about how high they are. Now it looks good. Let's go ahead and click that. Looking good. Let's make them prettier than that. Let's go down here. That's part 13. Let's both name this part better. So rename. Let's call this bumpers. And let's right click and edit the appearance. We'll make these super duper bumpers so they're going to be black. I don't like to go with the black because it's hard to see things on that. You see, you can't see anything. So go with like this dark gray. All right. And then let's go ahead and hide that top view sketch. That's confusing. All right, let's go ahead and fillet all these edges. So grab the fillet tool. We're going to fillet. Well, we can no longer fillet corners. That's a new bumper rule. But the top and bottom, if these are made of pool noodles, that'll be top and bottom. And we don't use pool noodles. We use backer rod, which is pretty much a really high quality pool noodle. But you know, we might change that from year to year. With a radius, if it was a 2.5 inch backer rod, the radius would be 1.25. Something like that. Okay. So that looks pretty good, I think. Give you an idea of how those look. Okay, so that's not bad. Let's talk about bumper mounts. Okay, in the past we have used a piece from McMaster to go in the corner here. It's actually a good opportunity to show you how to import a piece that's not in MKCAD. So let's go to this website. let's go to McMasterCar.com. McMaster.com. This is a company called McMasterCar. Whoops. Hey, I've just been looking at this piece, so it filled it into this. Let me show you how I would have found this piece. Let me go to the main page. All right, so what is it? This is a thread adapter. I'm not going to call this a hex thread adapter. And I can look around for all these options. I've got these inch-to-inch female hex thread adapters, which means that they are it's the opening on each side instead of the male ends, which look like this. So inch-to-inch female hex thread adapter. I got options on the side here. My thread size. That corner one is a 1032 thread, and we've adapted it historically to a 1/4 inch on the other side. I don't see an option for that, but the hex size is 1/2 inch hex. Here we go. We got some options. This one's 1032 to 1/4 20. That's what we want. There it is. You can see I've actually ordered them in the past, so this is exactly it. Let's go to the product details. You can see it here. Let's download the CAD file. So let's change this to a 3D step file and click download. And it's going to download that file. Let's go back to Onshape. Here we are. I'm working in my Part Studio. I'm going to click the plus down here. I'm going to click import. I just downloaded that step file. It's right here. I'm going to click that. And I'm going to import this into this document. It'll take a moment. We'll now get a folder that says CAD imports for that file. It'll also convert it to an Onshape file, which I can click here and see. There it is. Okay. So we can either insert that into our assembly, or we can derive it into this one. Choice is up to you. Because I'm going to build another part around it, I think it's worth deriving into this. So let's go back to our deriver tool. Derived. All right, let's select the Part Studio, which is in the current document. It's right here. It's this part. And let's insert it. Did I get it? Yeah, there it is. It's this orange one. And now let's transform it. Transform. The entity to transform is this. We're going to do it by my mate connectors. And I'm going to get rid of this reference cube so I can see it better. Let's right click it and select hide. I just want to hide that part. Let's undo this. Let's hide it. And then do that. Hide part 1. There we go. Now let's transform this right here. And translate it by mate connectors. So we're going to grab the bottom mate connector. And we want this to go right in the corner here. I'm going to need to flip it. You know what I'm actually realizing? I'm actually realizing that the 1032 hole is at the top and the 1/4 20 hole is at the bottom. So it is upside down. Let me undo this. Actually, I need to grab the top of this. It's going to be hard to see. There it is. There. So let's click transform this thing by mate connectors. That side there. It's going to go right here in the corner. And let's flip it. There we go. And now I've got my 1/4 20 holes out there. Okay. So the next thing I need to do is this thing will become unscrewed, so I'm going to create a bracket that's going to be able to mount into these other holes here. And then that will allow me to, it'll keep this from loosening. It's just going to be a little 3D print, like a little wrench that holds it in place. So I'm going to sketch right on this surface. Let's go ahead and use these edges here. Let's use all of these edges here. This might be a little bit of a tight fit. We might want to give this a little bit of tolerance. It depends which printer we're using, how accurate we need to be. I might give it a little tolerance here at the end. We'll see. Okay, so that's going to create that border here. Now the next thing I'm going to do, let's go ahead and just grab my line tool, and essentially I'm going to come here, do a curve out to here. Line tool trick, if you come back on it, it makes a curve. And then up from here. Alright, let's make some things equal. This side should equal that side. This one should equal this one. Let's find the center of this here, and let's move this to be centered. That way this curve is on the same curve. This should be vertical here. It's taking a while to think about this one. Okay. Let's say that the distance to the edge here, let's make it a 1/16 of an inch. There we go. Let's make this distance something nice, 0.5. And this distance something nice. Let's make it 1. Oh, too far. 0.75. Right there. And why are these not black? Are they not equal to each other? Is this not equal to that? This equal to that. So this is the case where I don't know why it's not fully defined. Let me unselect my tools. Let me grab a corner of it, see if I can move it. Oh, I can move it up and down. So this doesn't need to be tangent is the problem. Let's make that tangent. Tangent. This tangent to that. Now this line should be black. And everything's black. That's great. And lastly, I'm going to use these holes right here as well. All right, cool. Let's finish that up. And let's grab this. And let's extrude it. Let's do a 1/2 inch. We don't need a lot. Just enough to keep it in place. All right. So now I've got this part there. This part is going to be able to, be bolted in place, and it'll keep this from turning out when we, and if you don't know what's going on here, we're going to replace this bolt that runs through this whole thing. There's a bolt that goes through there with a longer bolt, so it comes in and we can thread this onto it. And once that's threaded onto it, then we can keep it in place by putting some bolts through here into the other spot there. Okay. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of tolerance on those. So what you can often do here is just click Move Face, and then you can select all these faces to offset. And it needs to be much less, so like let's do 0.01, and let's offset it in the other way. You can see it's moving it back. It's going to make all this just a little bit bigger. And 0.01 is probably too big. I just did that so you could actually see what it's doing. I also could have drawn this tolerance into the sketch. 3D prints are weird, so you kind of just like, okay, well, let me go ahead and do my best, and then we'll print it and see how it feels. Whoops, not that side, this side. Okay, and then I'm going to make this a little bit bigger too, because I made that exactly the size. Let's make this, instead of 0.01, let's do 0.005. So you can see if we, 0.005. If you actually look here, you can see how little that extends it out, but it should keep it in place. Let's actually see what the diameter of this hole is. 0.187. Ooh, that's still really tight. Clearance on a number 10 bolt is probably like at least, like usually 0.196. Let's change move face to be 0.01. See what that does here. That's probably still not enough. This simplified version just might not have very good clearance holes here. Yeah, 0.17, that's really tight. That probably includes the thread. 0.197 here, that's a lot better. It's still really, really tight. If we have to, we can, drill it out or whatever. But I'm not dwelling on that right now. I might want to add some little fillets in here. Depends how much I care about this. To make it nice on the edges. Oops, not that edge. Like I said, I'm not going to dwell on this too much, but you get the idea. And let's bring back the other part that we stole from McMaster. So there it is. There's that part there. Excuse me. All right. So let's go ahead and insert this into the assembly. Oh, actually, let's bring back the bumpers. Because I do still need to create a bracket now that this is going to mount to. So let's create a sketch on the top surface of here. Okay, I need to use the clearance hole there. I'm going to need to use the edge of the bumpers here and here. And then what I'm going to do is just give myself enough space out here to put some screws in and mount this thing. Let's put it from here to here to here. Oh, that's the wrong direction for that turn. Do a 3-point arc, so from here to here, something like that. Let's make the center of that arc there. And we'll go ahead and finish this up. It goes to here. Okay, now let's make some dimensions. This here should be, let's make it 1/4 of an inch. Is that too thin, too thick? It feels a little thin. I don't want this ripping off. This is bumpers. They're taking some hits. We're going to make it 1/2 inch. That should be fine. And this one should be equal to that. And let's see here. What's the diameter of this? Let's make it 1 inch. Okay. And how far out are we going here on this distance? From here to this edge here. Let's do 3.5 inches. Does that feel like enough to put 2 bolts in? 1, 2. Probably. And this will be the same. No, let's make it 4. It won't hurt. Better bracket. Okay, we're going to select this area and extrude it. Oh, I also want this area here. Let's add that. All right. Let's go ahead and fillet this in so it's a little stronger and so we can machine it on the router. Let's make that a 1/2 inch fillet. There we go, that's looking good. To be honest, this looks a little bulkier than we need it to be. Let's go back into the sketch and change this from radius of 1 to a radius of 0.75. And then these probably don't need to be 4 again. See, my instinct there was okay. There it is. Unfortunately, it looks like it's taller than my bumper the way it is. We might have to raise our bumpers up if we want this to fit. Because this is, we're making this out of 1 inch UHMW. So we might have to move our bumpers up. It's not very much, so let's go back. Luckily, we made these bumpers on a new plane 2. We offset it by 0.75. Let's just make that 1 inch off the ground instead of 0.75 off the ground. Should move the whole bumper assembly up, or whole bumpers up. There we go, and it's like almost even at the top. Makes me feel a little bit weird about it, but it's probably fine. All right, let's go ahead and go into my assembly here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert those parts. Insert this part. You can see it. See, it wants to move it. I don't want that. I want you to go naturally where it is. There it is. And then down here, part 15. There we are. Let's click those there. I'm going to just add those to the group. So I'm going to open up the group and I'm going to add those there. And I am going to insert the bumper. Where did it go? Bumpers, there we go. There we are, and let's add them to the group. Okay. I do need to actually make, oh, I also need to add the bumper mounts. They are right here. There's that one there. Let's add that to the group. And actually, I probably should be making these a separate group because they're bumpers. They come on and off. But there you go. If we need to, we can probably pattern these things around to put them on every corner. Let's see if there's a good way to do that. Assembly circular pattern. I need an axis of the pattern. Oh, I don't have an axis here in the middle. Anyways, you get the idea. I could insert more of these parts and actually fasten them in the corners where they go. But I'm starting to get an idea of where my bumpers are. I will do that. I'm gonna end the video now though, because I don't want the video to be epically long. But you can get the idea. We can insert more of those parts. We can fasten them in the corners where they go.